let's take a look at our top selections for Dan Illman, Mike Buer. It's Rebel Stakes Saturday at Oaklawn Park. And race number 5, one of the major races on the undercard, it's the Grade 2 $350,000 Azeri Stakes for fillies and mares. Let's take a peek at this field. They're going to go a mile and a 16th. This is, of course, is the prep for the Grade 1 Apple Blossom. Now, the good news is if you win this race, you're a major contender in the Apple Blossom, perhaps to finish second to Monomoy Girl.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to step up and face the leader of the division next time. But hey, man, you got to get there first, right?
Only 5 horses in this race, Mike, but I think all 5 of these horses have qualities that could make you recommend them. Let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. The number 3, Latruska, has really blossomed in her recent races. Her game is speed, and I agree with Timeform US. I think she is simply the fastest horse from the gate. She dares the devil should show speed. I don't think she wants to do with Latruska. I think in a perfect world, Motion Emotion would try to show some speed from the inside. I'm just not sure she's as fast as Latruska.
Yeah, I don't know that she is either. And in a lot of ways, though, then this to me is the key to the race, how it shakes out early, because I think Latruska obviously does want to go to the lead. That's her running style. It's just it really depends on what they do, but she dares the devil. She's off the layoff here. She has plenty of speed, Dan. And it would be no surprise if they get aggressive with her here. I just wonder if they're going to do that first time off the bench.
Now, a horse making her 4-year-old debut off a tremendous Beyer performance in her final start of 2020 is the number 1, Envoûtante for Kenny McPeak. Now, she won that Fall City, and we'll talk about that in a bit, on the lead. Let's go back to her final start before that race, the Remington Park Oaks against straight 3-year-olds. In this race, Envoûtante showed her versatility. She basically stayed 3-4 wide. She attacks the leader on the outside, and as a big favorite, she finally changes leads late, and she's just too good for this field. She came back in the Fall City, Mike, and she had everything her own way. She was allowed to step a half mile in almost 49 seconds, and she sprinted on home like she should. She does have a lot of potential, and that versatility could come in very handy from the rail draw.
Yeah, I agree. That could be, her biggest advantage in here is that she can sit and still run her race. Dan, we'll see what she does here as she tries to back up that Fall City. That's how you get big figures like that sometimes. And I'm not suggesting that it came out of nowhere, because she showed real ability leading into that race anyway. But you get big figures like that with the kind of trip she got that day. I mean, they just turned her loose on the lead. They did not pressure her up the backstretch. And as you said, she sprinted home in there. Look at the final 3/8 of that race on dirt, no less. I mean, she really rolled home in that race. Got a big figure for it. We'll see what she can do here against some better horses.
Motion Emotion, the number 2, has done some good things at Oaklawn Park in her career, and she was sold after finishing 4th in the Personal Ensign for $800,000 in November. Steve Asmussen is now the trainer. Steve's run her once as a 5-year-old. It was the Houston Ladies Classic. I kind of liked her in that race. She didn't run well. She couldn't get to Latruska on the lead, and she was a very tired horse in the stretch. Now, I know she might have needed the race, but to me, she had to have run better if I was going to pick her in here.
No, I totally agree with you. She just has never really panned out after what seemed like a very promising start to her career, Dan, and hasn't worked out for her. Last time her rider, I think, did the right thing. Latruska got to the early lead with no trouble, so he moved up her inside on the backstretch. They weren't going fast, Dan, but by the time they got to the far turn, you could tell Motion Emotion was never going to be able to keep up. I don't know how you take her off of that performance.
Latruska is very underrated. She started her career in Mexico. She won 6 races, 2 Grade 1s, and she has now won 3 graded races from her last 4 starts, including the Houston Ladies Classic. Let's watch that race. She had too much speed. She was able to clear from the outside post, and she pulls away very nicely in the stretch, Mike. 97 Beyer speed figure. She's very fast. She's very comfortable at this distance. In some ways, because you're dealing with layoffs for She Dares the Devil and Envoûtante, in some ways, she's the horse to beat.
Yeah, it's funny. You can look at her one of 2 ways then, because she could be the horse to beat in her. She's run several really good races. She is facing 2 much better horses this time, though, than she faced in either of her last 2 starts. I mean, her last 2 starts, while she ran really well and won easily, they weren't fast paces, and the quality of those fields just really wasn't there. So she was just kind of doing what she had to do. I like the fact that Joel Rosario is coming back to ride this horse, Dan, and I hope he rides her the way that he rode her in the Shuvi at Saratoga last summer, because that was a two-turn, 9 furlong race where you had to sort of worry about how far she wants to go. And Joel sent her that day. She went a wicked pace and she held on at the end. And I feel like he might ride her like that in here again.
What an interesting horse, the number 4, Get Rid of What Ails You is for trainer Brad Cox. This horse looked like she was getting good last spring at Oaklawn Park, and then unfortunately she went to the sidelines for an extremely long layoff. She came back ready to rumble. Let's watch her 5-year-old debut on January the 23rd. She fell far off of the pace. She's going to come with a stout late run to win, and the runner-up, Our Super Freak, is a nice mare. She came back to run second to Monomoy Girl in the Grade 3 Bayakoa with a 92 buyer. She's really moving, Get Rid of What Ails You. And if this pace heats up, she might actually be the strongest closer.
Yeah, she might be. She really has put on a nice stretch kick in a lot of her races, Dan, in particular that one we just watched there. And the best thing about that race is it almost felt like Joe Rocco, like he wasn't really asking her to get involved around the second turn. He didn't even take her to the outside. He sort of waited, and then they got to the stretch, and then he asked her, and she really finished in there. She could really take a big step forward at some point.
And last but certainly not least in this quality field is the 5, She Dares the Devil, the winner of last year's Kentucky Oaks. That culminated a 3-race win streak. And then in her first start against older horses, she was the beaten favorite in this race, the Grade 1 Spinster, but she was far from embarrassed. She might have just felt the effects of a hard campaign in this spot. She showed speed. She went a decent clip, and Valiance, much improved, just runs right by her in the final 3/16. Valiance would go on to finish second to Monomoy Girl in the Breeders' Cup with a 97 buyer. She Dares the Devil's very good.
Yeah, she is. I mean, I guess this was a race where some people would be disappointed just because she took so much money in here, Dan. I didn't think she ran poorly, although she's no match for these 2 horses late. The bigger question is, sort of where did the Kentucky Oaks come from? That's what I'm keep trying to figure out, because leading up to that race, I mean, she had run fine in some, decent races, but she didn't seem like that kind of horse. And all of a sudden she jumped up with a huge effort in the Kentucky Oaks. I kind of still want her to prove that she's that kind of horse, but I won't be surprised if she is.
Well, she beat Swiss Skydiver. She beat Gamine in the Kentucky Oaks. She's facing a good field here. No Swiss Skydivers or Gamines. We take a look at our top picks for the Grade 2 Azeri. Mike, you're going with Latruska. You've been a big fan. You've been right about her throughout, and she's going to be on the lead, I would think. Envoûtante, I just think, has a lot of upside still. That last race buyer, I'm not sure I completely trust it, but I do like the progression she showed from a tactical standpoint in some of her races, and this distance hits her between the eyes.
Yeah, I look at Envoûtante the same way that you do, Dan. I really respect her, and I do think she has a chance to be really good this year. I'm going to stick with Latruska for one more, though. She's got recency on her 2 main rivals, and I think Joelle's going to put her right on the front.
3154 for Mike, 1354 for me. Should be a fun edition of the Grade 2 Azeri. She Dares the Devil, Kentucky Oaks winner, back in action. Best of luck.